Minister, social housing on islands is a huge issue. It's not alone, obviously, in West Cork, but it's an issue throughout the country. We have great islands out in West Cork, Dursey, Sherkin, Bear Island, Whiddy Island, Cape, Long Island. I go out there on a regular basis as part of my constituency, and that's one of the things that they're meeting with me out there is community and voluntary groups out there saying there's no social housing for their people out there. So their people are not returning to the island. So I'd appreciate you might outline your plans and your plans going forward for social housing on the islands. Thank you.
My department under Housing for All has set social housing targets for all local authorities, and Cork County Council has a target delivery of 3,198 units over the period 2022 to 26. Cork County's approved Housing Delivery Action Plan is published on the Council's website with details of social housing needs for each settlement in the county. In 2022, Cork County Council has supported an AHP proposal from Carbery Housing Association for the development of 6 units, 5 one-bedroom bungalows, 1 and 3-bedroom house, and future service provision for 3 further plots on Sherkin Island. In addition, the Council has supported the provision of 2 turnkey units on Sherkin Islands, which are currently in the planning process. The unique group of islands off the coast of County Cork have a discrete set of requirements due to their geographical location. The island communities, however, have an unparalleled reputation for resourcefulness in surviving daunting physical and economic conditions, and retained and even developed their unique cultural identity. The islands are an important part of the culture, heritage, economy and tourism appeal of the county. To reflect the importance of developing the islands, the development plan contains specific objectives directed the Cork County Development Plan, the requirements including supporting the islands, economic development of the islands, development proposals on the islands and uninhabited islands. Cork County Council has assured our department that it will continue to monitor the demand for housing on the islands and will examine options for the direct construction of dwellings if suitable sites become available, as well as seeking expressions of interest for turnkey developments county-wide, including the islands, on an annual basis. Separately but related, our department is working closely with the Department of Gaeltacht in relation to planning matters in Gaeltacht areas, which, as we know, includes Ilan Clara. Our aim is to achieve a uniform and consistent approach to planning across the Gaeltacht regions to aid both planning authorities and developers to contribute to the language planning process and to protect the linguistic integrity of the Gaeltacht. I'll come back in a supplementary on further points.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister, for outlining the plans for the island. You mentioned Sherkin, and I'd welcome any housing development at Sherkin Island because it is a great island, busy island, and you know, the arts degree course that goes on there brings people commuting back and forth every day and staying on the island. But there is other islands, as I said, like Bear Island and Cape Clear, Whiddy, Dursey and Long Island, where people are living. But there hasn't been a social housing problem there for many, many years in any of these islands. And we're, you know, okay, I don't see from what you stated, unless you have further news there, that there's going to be any big plans in any of the island, of those islands I mentioned. And we need that, Minister. They need new life in the island. People want to live in the island. I was in Bear Island recently. A lot of issues there in relation to the pier and all that. That's hopefully an issue for the council. But one thing they said to me is housing, and people want to build and want to stay. Can't maybe afford to build, so social housing should be as easy access there as it should be on the mainland. And why isn't that the case?
Again, just to reiterate that Cork County Council is the lead authority in the provision of social housing for Cork County, including the islands. I'm just looking at some of the CSO data here, just in terms of population change on the islands, and there's quite a wide fluctuation between Bear Island, which has seen a reduction in population, Long Island an increase, Sherkin a slight reduction. So there's quite an interesting dynamic taking place, and I think that's important for the local authority to take account of that. I think secondly, I think it's important that if there is opportunities for social housing, and particularly to reuse disused dwellings that could be repurposed on the islands, I think the local authority should give consideration to that. Certainly our department is open to any proposals that the local authority brings forward in that regard, and I think there are opportunities there that the local authority should be giving consideration to and trying to attract families to live on the islands again.
Minister, you mentioned there about, you know, a reduction in Bear Island and Sherkin Island, and probably maybe a Whiddy also, but that is the reason why, because they haven't got anywhere to live. People can't come onto an island if there's nowhere to live. It's the vision by government or the councils, the local authority, hasn't seen the need there, and there is a need there. There is a need there. And the sad thing is, and I'm dealing with an islander at the moment, a person that's living on one of the islands, applied for planning permission in her own family farm and was refused after spending €10,000. Imagine spending €10,000 on an island, a person who wants to continue to live on the island and is entitled to do so and has been refused. It's a shocking situation they find themselves in. You can't get social housing, you're refused planning. I don't know, it's apparently just a bit of garce, even though they had all these reports sent in, and she paid for all these reports along the way. You have situations like Dursey Island, where people on the island at the moment can't access the mainland and haven't had fresh food for about nearly 6 to 8 weeks. We have serious situations, but the bottom line is the housing situation is one of the most serious, because that's the future of the islands. Totally depends on that. Whether you're in Bale Island, Dursey, whether you're in Cape, Whitty, or Sherkin, they need to have a future, Minister, and there's no future here in what you're saying today.
Just again to reiterate, I mean, there are opportunities that there. Our department would support any proposals that come in from the local authority. There is the West Cork Islands Integrated Development Strategy. There are objectives there that, in terms of economic regeneration and the opportunity in particular to repurpose houses. There's certainly a discouragement of building, constructing second or other individual homes at some points. There's other sensitivities around ecology, Natura 2000 sites on the islands as well, which have to be taken into consideration. But there's no doubt that the local authority, if they're submitting proposals to get families back living on the islands, I think it's critically important that they bring them to our department. The capital monies are there, there's Croí Cónaithe funding, there's lots of other opportunities. I think that from that perspective, the local authority has to be proactive in bringing forward proposals. My understanding is the issues on Dursey in terms of the cable car are being resolved, and I do think it's critically important. From a broader perspective, as a government, we are supportive of economic, social and environmental development on the islands. It's important the local authorities are a big part of that process. Certainly our department won't be found wanting in that regard.